Welcome back to Coldiron's Kitchen. I'm Wade. Today's been kind of dreary. It's been raining today, kind of cold. We got rain and cold tomorrow. So I thought, soup and sandwich tonight. We're going to have a cream mushroom soup and a grilled cheese sandwich. But as with everything I do, I'm going to put my own little twist on it. So let's get started, shall we? We got a pan here heating up that we're going to put some olive oil in. Just a little bit of olive oil. And to that, we're going to add 1/3 of a cup minced onion. Loudly. Set that stirring around. To that, we're going to add a few spices. We're going to add a little bit of garlic, a little bit of dried thyme, and a touch of celery seeds. Just about 1/8 of a teaspoon total of the whole thing. If you don't want to overpower, the mushrooms are going to take care of that. Get that searing up a little bit. Now, again, most people when they're making a soup think you got to start with the broth. You always start with your dry ingredients. Now these are oyster mushrooms. And picked them up at a great deal, but if you're a mushroomer and you get out in the hills and find your own, it doesn't matter what you use, shiitake, crimini, portobello, red dragon mushrooms, just don't use the psychedelic ones. Or if you want to, you can. I wouldn't. But put your mushrooms in. You want to sear your mushrooms just slightly. You want to start them to weep a little bit. Not that they're going to be put in the soup and they're unhappy about it. Just you want to start them along the path. Now, we're going to let these cook down for about a minute. So in that time, we'll be back to you. Well, the mushrooms have sweated down by about 1/2. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add 1 cup of broth. This is a mushroom broth. Okay, I had some time today between clients and whatever else I was doing to come by and take the stems off of my oyster mushrooms, put them in a pan, saute them with some garlic, some onion, and a little bit of basil, some rosemary. Sauteed them together. That took me about 5 minutes. Added to it just enough water to float it. When I was done, I had 1 cup of broth. So it's ready to go in here. Now what that's going to do, now if you don't have time to make mushroom broth, I understand. Chicken broth can be substituted. But for a cream of mushroom soup, you kind of want, well, mushrooms. And speaking of which, I've got some dried white mushroom here. We ran into a whole lot of mushrooms and couldn't pass them up. So what we did is we brought them home. I have a food dehydrator, but you can dry them in the sun if you want to. You can put them in your oven at low heat or put them in a food dehydrator. But drying a mushroom concentrates all that mushroom flavor. So what this is going to do, it's going to jump up. That's about 1/4 cup of dried mushroom to go with the oyster mushroom. It's going to just pow. You're going to have mushroom flavor. Solid, strong mushroom flavor. Now this has got to come back up to a boil. And after it's done boiling, we'll move on to stage 3. Well, we're back. The stuff is just about ready to go. Now, you have to knock down some of the lumps in this. I mean, it's some big chunks of mushroom there. I use an immersion blender. It's something I got for Christmas. But you can use a food processor. You can use a blender. What you're looking for is to take down the majority of the large pieces and leave a few to play with. Because you want some texture to your soup. You don't want baby food. At least not until you lose all your teeth. Okay, that's all it's going to get done there. Shake out your blender. And then we're going to put it in the bowl the mushrooms came out of because we've got another stage to go through. Don't worry, currently only mushrooms have been hurt in the filming of this. Okay, scrape the pan out real good. Set that aside, put that back down so it continues to be warm. Now, we're going to go and make a roux. What a roux is, basically, is butter and flour. 2 tablespoons of butter. And I like to chop it up just a smidge to get it going on its way faster. Because I don't cook on high temperatures, not normally. I give it a little more heat. But you get the butter cooked down. Now, You got all this mushroom flavor in here. You want to scrape the edges, make sure the mushrooms get in there. And get your butter down towards cooking. Okay, it's bubbling just a little bit. Now we're going to put 2 tablespoons of just plain white flour. Now you'll note that's sitting in a cupcake cup. The reason why is I really, really hate to wash a bunch of little dishes. No one's following me around. So I do what I can to save energy on myself. So here we go. The flour goes in. Now to that flour, we're going to add a pinch of salt. Nice coarse grained salt or sea salt. And white pepper. I like to use the fresh cracked pepper. The stuff you buy in the store, it's already pre-ground. By the time you get it, it has lost most of its essential oils, lost a bunch of flavor, potency, and you're losing. So what we're going to do is we're going to stir the butter and flour together until it's smooth. Okay? You just want to get to the smooth part. No lumps, no dry spots. And I'm still at a relatively low heat, but I'm using a special kind of cookware. You might have to go a little higher. If you're using electric, you might have to go a little higher. But mine's just going to bubble along here. I don't want to get it too dark. Look for creamy mushroom soup. Now onto the mushrooms that we used. I used oyster mushrooms. You can use any mushroom you want. Again, I mean, go to the store, get a sack of mushrooms. And then people ask, well, why don't you just open a can of soup? I could, but I know what I'm getting in this one. I know every ingredient. And I know what's good for me, I know what's bad for me. I know what I'm going to like. It's going to be this soup. Because it's going to go with my grilled cheese sandwich. Okay, we are down to smooth. Take a look at that. It's just a little bit of bubbles and all that. To that, we're going to add a half pint of heavy cream. Now we're going to get into where I'm using something a little more sophisticated called a whip. We're going to whip that around. And we'll want that to come up to a bubble. Okay, between prep time and cooking time, this meal is going to be a lapse time between 40 and 55 minutes, almost an hour. But, you know, I consider that hour worth it. You know, between chopping up the mushrooms, chopping up the onions, grinding the seasonings together. Oh, look at this stuff here right now. See how thick that's getting right there? Here's when you're going to add back your mushroom mixture. Now we might have to add a little water to this. That thickened up kind of nice. Here we go. Creamy, mushroomy. I won't name names, but I'll say that the leading manufacturer of cream of mushroom soup can't quite touch this one. Doesn't cost that much. I mean, I find mushrooms on sale. I find mushrooms in the forest. Cream, what's that cost? You're dealing with a little bit of time, but you're also dealing with time spent with family as they're sitting down over this, and they're saying to themselves, it's dinner time. Okay, sous chef, move. It's Hennessy. What we're going to do now is add some Marvel's Mystery Oil. Always, it's great for pouring in your tank in your car to make the oil. It's sherry. Just kidding. Not going to put oil in the food. At least not Marvel Mystery Oil. And our soup is ready to go on a simmer on the back burner. Because now, no, we're good. Now we're going to move on to the second phase, which is the grilled cheese sandwich. Back with you in a minute. Welcome back. As with all things related to this kitchen, it's got a twist. We're going to have a grilled cheese sandwich made with white cheddar, slivered Parmesan, and feta with a little bit of tomato. I'm going to go ahead and cut this up. You want this tomato to be really thin. You want it to fit between the layers. So you're looking about an 8-inch slice. So do be careful with your fingers. Okay, we got that. I've got some dogs wanting that part. I'm going to set this down. We're going to put some white cheddar down. If it looks like it's kind of skimpy, don't worry. It's going to all talk to itself. Got some white cheddar going there. Filled in there. Now I'm going to put a layer of tomatoes in here. Just peel them off. Any extra tomato I have volunteers to take care of. My dogs love their veggies. So there we go. A layer of feta. Boy, and thinking about it, I'm going to put a layer of basil shredded in there too. I keep a basil plant on hand because basil just lends itself to everything. Some slivers of basil in there. Feta, basil, tomato, a little more of a white cheddar, and you build a sandwich. It's a foundation working its way up. Some Parmesan, very hard cheese, Parmesan, with a little more feta, a touch more of the white and the Parmesan, and we're just about at the top there. Now on the bottom of this, I've already buttered it. And I said butter. It's not olive oil, it's butter. Put the basil in there. Cheese in there. Okay, now use a little bit of cooking spray. Torch the little head off. Just a little bit. And then set that right down on it and give it a push. Now while it's sitting there, I always melt my butter a little bit, just make it easy to put on so I cover all corners. It gets brown all over at the right timing. There we go. Okay, we'll be back with you in just a minute. Okay, grilled cheese sandwich has been turned. Shut the fire off on that, move it to the cutting board. You know, on a cold or dreary day, soup and sandwich is just the way to go. So we're going to go ahead and dish up our soup. It's kind of like a golden mushroom soup. My wife and I always share a sandwich because we're never going to try to eat the whole thing ourselves. But grilled cheese sandwich, homemade cream of mushroom soup. Thanks for watching.